Hey everybody, it's Paul from Raine&Horne here, and in this week's episode of From the Source, as usual, we're talking to someone from the property industry, and today it's Steve Logan from the Logan Property Group, who works as a buyer's agent and helps clients that way. So welcome, Steve. How are you going?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me on.
Fantastic. Look, I was just wondering, there's a lot of people that probably don't know exactly what the benefits and what the job that a buyer's agent actually does for them. Could you just give us a bit of an overview, please?
Yeah, sure. So look, essentially a buyer's agent should be bringing strength to the decision-making process of buying an investment property. The idea is that, they're going to create for you, the most robust data and evidence so that that when you use your parcel of money, that you've purchased the very best product possible at that time. So for the Logan Property Group, we essentially go through things like what is our client's risk profile, what is their current investment strategy and their current portfolio in regards to other properties. Are they wanting long-term equity growth, or are they wanting it to be cash flow positive as soon as they purchase the property? So they're the sort of things we go through with the client to get an idea of them. And then we move on to the actual property itself. So it's about going, well, what are the macro and micro geographical considerations for this area? What is the reason why we'd purchase, in this suburb compared to that suburb? We also then go in and actually, do the open homes and go to the inspections, negotiate the sale of the property. And the idea of that is to ensure that you've gotten the property for the lowest price possible. But at the same time, we can provide you with evidence to say this is the average price for a property in this area, and we believe that we've secured it for the right price. So it's this whole idea of bringing this evidence more and more and more, so that you start to go, okay, I'm not just looking in the paper or looking online and going, that's the house that I want to purchase, and then just going and getting it and hoping with fingers crossed that you've actually purchased the right property. So we've also developed relationships with industry people so that we can actually make sure we get into the market often earlier than other people, or that if we're looking at the different properties, we know that what they're telling us is correct, because we can look around at different people. So for us, it's also about then forecasting the future of that property and saying, look, in the current situation with the buy price and the rent price where it is, this is where we believe this is what we believe it's going to cost you up front when you first start. So is it going to be cash flow positive and cost you nothing? Or is it going to cost you $50 a week or $100 a week? And then over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we can say this is the expected growth of the property in the equity, and this is the expected growth in rent. So again, it's really bringing all of that evidence to you to actually show why this property is worthwhile.
Okay, so listening to that, it seems like your predominant client base would be investors. Is that all that you work with?
No. Look, we work with anyone that is saying, hey, look, I want to buy my house, and this is the area I want to do it, right through to investors. I even work with people that have disabilities and actually looking to get them into rentals. So, we do everything from helping someone, secure a rent for the right price and negotiate that contract with the agent, right through to actually purchasing someone's home for them, right through to saying, hey, here's an investment property, and we'll go from there. But you are right. I would say, the majority of people tend to be investors, because they're the ones that say, I need to make sure that this money is going to work for me. But I think more and more people are moving into that market of using a buyer's agent even outside of the investment area.
Yep, yeah, and I'm guessing particularly those people that are time poor, but also essentially what you're giving people is an ability to minimise risk by using someone else's knowledge and experience that they don't necessarily have.
Yeah, and look, it's one of those funny things that if you were going to invest in any other area, shares or managed funds or whatever, area or asset class that you wanted to actually go into, you would tend to do a lot of research beforehand. But in the past, often people have just gone, oh, I'm going to buy that property. That looks really good. I know that area, or I live nearby, or whatever else. I think that's going to be great. And I think that's people are moving away from that now, and more we're seeing people go, actually, I want to know why I'm purchasing things, even for your own home. So it's a bit like, your personal home. For the average Australian, their home is their largest asset. So if you're going to, take something, then why not spend a little bit of money to go, if I'm going to purchase my home, what am I looking for to ensure that this asset will continue to grow?
Exactly. And I mean, if you're buying a home for yourself, most people wouldn't even consider not getting a pest and building report done, for example.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. So why not find out, if I've got a choice between property A and B, which one do we think is going to grow over time and bring a larger volume of equity? Which one do we think is going to be better for our circumstance and our situation? Am I paying the correct price for these two houses, or am I actually paying too much and I'm actually paying over what the average is for the area? The cost of a buyer's agent may well be insignificant compared to the you paying over what you actually have done for your property.
Yeah, well, I mean, Talisha and I often say to people that you can make money on property at two different points. The first point is when you buy it, and the second point is when you sell it. So,
Totally.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, from your perspective, obviously, the recent short period of time, even up 12 months or more, there's been massive changes and fluctuations happening, I suppose, in the finance sector, but also in the property market. From you with your buyer's agent's hat on, what do you see as happening in the market right now?
Look, for a lot of your people that are listening would probably understand there's a concept called the property clock. And the idea of that is saying that every suburb, every area is on a clock. There's going to be areas that are undervalued. There's going to be areas that are flat, and there's going to be areas that are overvalued. And depending on the time that you actually are looking at the area will depend on when it is. And so you're right, particularly since COVID, there was a lot of areas that sustained quite a heavy increase. And whenever you get such a large increase in property or really any asset class like that, you can expect that there is going to be a flattening and maybe even a reduction from that large increase. It's really important to note, though, that people will say, oh, my property has devalued. But what they're doing is they're looking at it devalued now compared to 6 months ago. But compared to 4 months or 8 months ago, it's probably still, significantly high. So in the end, for a buyer's agent, it's very much about trying to work out, what area is flat, what area is undervalued, and what area is overvalued currently at the moment.
Yeah, and I suppose everybody wants to sell at 6 o'clock and buy it. Sort of sell at 12 o'clock and buy at 6 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yep.
But it really depends on what your personal circumstances are too, because if you plan to live in the house or own the house for an extended period of time, then it really doesn't matter too much, the clock. Is that a fair comment, or?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's an important thing to note, is that every asset class has a time value associated with it when it comes to your expectations to get involved. So if you want to jump into something like shares or managed funds, you may find that you don't even need to be in it for very long. And if you want to sell and get out, you can literally sell today and have your money tomorrow. So that asset class is what you call, it's very liquid, and it allows you to do that. If you're going to get into property, you have to recognize that it's probably really a 10-year commitment to be able to see a good return on your investment. And if you ever look at property over 10 years, you'll be able to say that's done quite well. I purchased that for $500,000 and now it's worth X amount of dollars. And therefore you're not seeing the highs and lows, you're seeing that extended growth over that period of time. And also with property as an asset class, it's important to note that unlike shares or managed funds or other asset classes where you can sell today and tomorrow you have your cash, if you want to sell today, you're looking at, a minimum of 4 to 5 to maybe even 6 months before you actually see that cash in your bank. And so in the end, it's about actually going, rightio, what do I want to get involved in? What is my long-term objectives? What am I hoping to achieve? Which is one of the reasons why we go through that with our clients, so that they're very on board and understand what they're doing.
Great. Look, thanks, Steve. We probably went a little bit longer than I thought, but there was a lot of really good information there, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to some person. If people, what we might do is we might tag you in our comments, so people, if they want to connect with you directly, they can do.
Fantastic, Paul, and thank you so much for catching up with me.
No worries. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.